Hey guys, and welcome back. It's been a few days. I've been feeling the best, so feeling okay enough, I think, to make one video. Sniffle, sniffle. How long have I been crying? I don't even know how long I've been comforted like this. My grandfather's hand is on my cheek to comfort me. I'm holding his hand lovingly and pressing my cheek against it. You okay, Grandpa? My grandfather put his head on my other hand on my head. The warmth of his palms gradually calmed me down. Piles of documents were all around me. It was a mistake. Just wore through dead while lying on the fluffy carpet. Must have fallen asleep. That terrible dream. If you sleep facing down, the pressure in your chest makes it easier to have nightmares. It's getting quite late. Why don't you go to sleep, Miyoko? I'm fine. I took a nap, so I'm not sleepy anymore. I'm almost done, so I'm going to finish up, alright? You have school tomorrow. You should go to sleep, otherwise you'll get scolded for yawning again. I've been going to bed late recently because of that. I yawned a lot at school. My teacher must have written a note to my grandfather. I'm fine. I'll go to sleep as soon as I'm done. So please let me finish, okay? Besides, you shouldn't mind me. Go back to your study and continue with your article. The day for him to present his findings is approaching. He's been working so hard, devoting himself to his research, but there's unfortunately a limit to what an individual can do. He needs a collaborator in order to go further with his research. He has to explain that his investigation could be the key to solving the mysteries of human behavior and make people understand how important his work is. But this research is a very complicated subject. He couldn't seek assistance from just anyone. Someone will be able to help him one day. Believing that, my grandfather earnestly continued his research. I want to help him more, but all I can do is sort through this data and tidy up his materials. I also assist him around the house so he can concentrate more on his research. He always tells me how helpful I am, but it's not enough for me. I will study hard, get into a good college, and learn many things so I can actually be of assistance to his research. I'm a mediocre student right now, and I don't particularly like school, but I will do it. I want to help my grandfather. If his heart were to fail and could continue his research, I wouldn't hesitate to cut open my chest and offer my heart up for him. If he needs lungs, I'll give him my lungs. If any of his organs fail, I'll give him mine. There's nothing strange about those feelings. They're perfectly normal ones. I'm afraid if he had found me even a day later, I might not have been alive. Or even if I lived, I would be either without my body intact or with my mind lost to me. In other words, I'm alive because my grandfather came to save me. If he hadn't rushed to find me, I wouldn't be here. So I don't hesitate to give up my life for him. Move over. I like to be more than happy to do that. If I want to be with him forever. Human lives aren't immortal. Just like how my parents died, it happened so suddenly without any warning. I will never heal from my parents' deaths, but now I have my grandfather. I'm not sad. However, his existence isn't eternal either. He may disappear all of a sudden for any unexpected reason. Just like my parents, that's why I wish to be a part of him. That way, no matter what happens, he will be together forever. I don't want to be alone ever again. I want to be with my grandfather forever. I want to help him forever. Okay, then be sure to sleep. Go to sleep after you finish this, okay? Promise? Yes. I promise. We pinky promise after that. We smiled at each other and my grandfather went back to his study. The dried up tears are making my cheeks itch. I headed to the bathroom to wash my face and brush my teeth. I looked at my face in the mirror. None of my grandfather's features are recognizable on my face. Of course they aren't. We're not related. He must have had family too, but I never heard about him. He doesn't seem to want to talk about that subject, so I don't ever ask him about it. I don't care if he has a real grandchildren or not, even if I'm not related to him. I'm a granddaughter of Hifumi Takano. I'm not just a granddaughter either. I want to be more than that. I don't want a parent-child relationship nor a lover's relationship, nothing like that. I want something more absolute that binds our souls. Something that not even a tragedy can destroy. I am Miyoko Takano, Hifumi Takano's granddaughter. Maybe it should be Mio instead. That's what my grandfather sometimes calls me. I want to succeed Hifumi's spirit. Since his name counts from 1 to 3, I want us to share that 3 and be the 4th in his line. Today my name changes. I wrote that new name in the mirror. Mio Takano, what a wonderful new name for me. Colonel, sir, good to see you again. Takano-kun, come on, no more Colonel stuff. No, I was worried when I heard you were ill. You sure look great now. My grandfather always told me he doesn't have any friends. He used to tell me everyone died in the war, but that's not true. He has one very close friend. This is him, an elderly man my grandfather calls Colonel Koizumi. I don't know exactly where they met, but every time they get together, all they talk about is the military and the war. So I guess that's where they met. Look at you, Mia-chan. How tall are you now? We just had a physical checkup the other day, and I think I've grown 2 centimeters. That's wonderful. Good girl. Make sure you eat well, play a lot, and grow big and healthy. I envy you, Takanaka, for having such a cute granddaughter. Mr. Koizumi knows that my grandfather and I aren't related, but he always calls me his granddaughter. That makes me very happy, so I poured a little more black tea in his cup. After I finished serving tea, I left with a bow. I want to stay and listen to them talk, but I guess my grandfather doesn't want me to hear stories of the war, so he always makes me leave. I left before I was told to, but having to leave doesn't mean I need to go to a different room. I just head to the other side of this huge living room instead. Although I'm not right by them, I can still sit on the sofa and listen to their conversation. And if they need something, I can come help them right away. I try to earn points that prove that I'm useful. I sat on a sofa away from them and started reading an encyclopedia. While doing that, I tried to listen to their conversation. That's great. The professor said they want to come over on Sunday, the week after next. Really? Thank you very much, Koizumi-san. Don't mention it. That just means the report you wrote was interesting to Konoka, and they're showing a lot of interest. Namely said it's possible that this research could receive the Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize? That's wonderful. My grandfather laughed. Since he laughed so cheerfully, something great must have happened. Mr. Koizumi must have showed the society the essay my grandfather was about to announce and gauged their reactions, and supposedly they find it extremely interesting. That means they recognize the value of my grandfather's research. And that makes me happy too, but what worries me is that you'll get infected with the syndrome yourself. Make sure you don't end up clawing out your own throat, okay? Or maybe I'm already infected, but Higurashi syndrome is harmless if you live a normal life. It was a dangerous disease back when the villagers believed in the Oyashio-sama and bound themselves with strict rules. But those have faded over time, and people rarely show symptoms unless something major happens. After that many cases, a patient's emotional state has a lot to do with how the syndrome develops. As long as you live a normal life, there's nothing to worry about. So when one is under a lot of pressure, like during the war, the disease gets worse. That's right. Well, there's nothing to worry about. The subjective symptom of the initial stages of paranoia akin to that and depression. Once you notice it happening, you can teach yourself to relax emotionally and physically by using the breathing method. And you should also get at least 9 hours of sleep at night over a 1 week period. That's how you prevent it from worsening. In fact, all of the Higurashi soldiers died under my direction, not even one died mysteriously. As he talks, grandfather started demonstrating the Takano breathing method, a bizarre exercise technique. According to him, this technique relaxes the body and lets blood and lymphatic fluid flow smoothly. As a result, you relax emotionally too. But the movements involved in technique are so weird, I had to look away because my grandfather looked so silly. And that was one thing about his research that I felt bad about. Grandfather asked me to do this exercise too, and I wanted to make him sad, so I do it when instructed. I'm glad to hear that Hideo Noguchi died in the middle of his research, so please be careful, okay? However, Noguchi, since his great work is still acknowledged even after his death, as a researcher, I'm sure that it was his long-term goal. Grandfather tells me about Hideo Noguchi often. He was born as a son of a poor farmer, but he studied hard and became a doctor. However, he was mistreated because of his background, so he left Japan. He moved to the United States. There he made many accomplishments as a researcher. He discovered a vaccine for yellow fever. Grandfather's background is somewhat similar to his, so often that all of his researchers admired him the most. Hideo Noguchi died in North Africa, where he discovered a vaccine for yellow fever. He heard it wasn't effective on yellow fever in North Africa. He was sent there to research it. He went there to research and came down with a disease and died. A researcher losing his life for his research, sometimes that is a test of a researcher's courage. In that sense, grandfather is brave to visit Himisawa himself to gather information. He himself says he may already be infected. Although my grandfather estimates from ancient texts that Himisawa syndrome was only many centuries ago, and now it's no different from the usual bacteria that shares a symbiosis with humans. Many people became ill with the disease during the war, but that was because they were in an extremely abnormal situation. In today's peaceful environment, it's almost impossible for a person to develop symptoms. He sounds very optimistic, but he never brought me with him to Hinamizawa, so maybe he isn't as optimistic as all that. However, since I live with them, there's a possibility that I'm already infected as well. But I'm not worried at all. That's because my grandfather has taught me that as long as I maintain a physical and emotional I maintain myself physically and emotionally, I won't develop any symptoms. I know all about the horrible terminal symptoms of Hinamizawa syndrome, but I'm not overly fearful of them. Grandfather's enjoying this conversation with Mr. Koizumi. That's understandable. Mr. Koizumi told me some people showed great interest in his report. They even wanted to come over on Sunday the week after next to meet and talk to him directly. With the rapid advance of modern medicine, unexplored frontiers are steadily dwindling. Was it possible that the Hemazoa syndrome my grandfather discovered might be a new continent in the field? It'll be decided in 2 weeks. It sounds like there will be more than one person coming, and it also sounds like they're all important people in the society. Not all are rich and famous, yet they aren't satisfied with just that. They all want to be involved with something that's worth an international award. There's a chance to gain assistance sponsorship at the same time. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'll make sure to be here. Good luck. Thank you very much. I owe you everything. It's too early to say that. Let's wait until you find some sponsors. When that time comes, let's have a toast with that treasured wine of yours. That was the last of their conversation. My grandfather kept his head bowed until Mr. Koizumi was gone. It sounded like he was set up by this great chance for my grandfather, so I bowed my head just like him. Did you hear that? Finally, there's a chance for me. There are people who are interested in my report. I know I heard not only have people to fund you and people to help you with your research. Well, that's not set in stone yet. Although he didn't want to admit it, he had a good feeling about it. The research he had conducted all along was finally able to gain recognition. On Sunday, the week after next, quiet, I'll be busy. That first impression depends on my presentation. I have to rearrange my data. No, I probably should practice explaining things in front of people. Anyway, I have to make sure I don't forget anything. Boy, it'll be a lot of work to rearrange your data. Your handwriting is bad, so you should write bigger. Anyway, I'll be busy. The next 2 weeks will go by fast. You're right, I'll help you too. All the formalin jars have to be dusted. Also, we need to straighten the curve on our rolled up documents. Do you think leaving them laid out under the rug overnight would fix it? We have plenty of things to do, Mio. Could you help me? Of course, I'll skip school for it. No, you can't miss school. We left together, thrust our fists into the air, and motivated ourselves to work hard toward it the week after next. Since that day, my grandfather spent more time in his study. It's not easy to create a report that you're going to show other people. Copy machines hadn't been invented back then, so everything had to be handwritten. He knows it somewhere, but he just can't remember where he put the data he needs. As for me, I have to make sure I have enough guest cups to serve tea, so I'm counting them. Do I have enough tea leaves? Maybe I should go get some. What did I say? Maybe I should get something to go with tea. Okay, like a snack or something, probably. My grandfather knows nothing about these things. There's a whole list of chores to do. I need to clean the windows so the room will be bright. What else? 2 weeks pass quickly while busy ourselves getting things done. What a wonderful 2 weeks it is. I can finally feel that I'm actually doing something to help my grandfather with his research. I hope the day of the meeting will be a memorable one for my grandfather. I hope that day will be a beautiful and clear one. Okay, I'm gonna take a few minute break here. Alright, there we go. That's a nice, decent break. Okay, just as I wish, the day is beautiful. Evening. My grandfather has been dressed formally, paced around and studying nervously. I'm also in a beautiful dress. I've only worn it once before at my piano recital, but I'm not nervous like my grandfather. She's silly nervous. Actually relaxes me. Are they here yet? Grandfather looked out of the window. Then a black car stopped in front of the gate. Back then, a car was a luxury item. I don't think I've even had one classmate whose family owned a car. It only makes sense that the men coming out of the car looked respectable. Grandfather and I ran out to welcome them. Welcome, I'm Takano. Thank you for coming today. May I take your jacket? I greeted them and filled the role we decided ahead of time. Though my being relaxed by my grandfather's silliness ended at that point. Both my grandfather and I were stiff with anxiety as we greeted them now at the moment that was here. Nice to meet you, doctor, and hello, young lady. Are you his granddaughter? Yes, Mio, please say hello. Very nice to meet you. I'm Mio Takano. The good girl on here. In place of Koizumi Sensei. Something came up and he can't make it today. He's very sorry. And see, I'm sorry to hear that. The person who set up everything isn't here. My grandfather even had a treasured wine ready, just as I promised 2 weeks ago. Everyone, let me introduce you. This is Dr. Hifumi Takano. Dr. Takano was the leading member of the Research Center for the Prevention of Epidemics in Manchuria during the war. He made many advances in developing synthetic food and synthetic alcohols, measures against malnutrition and ration shortages. Nice to meet you. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me. The men are even older than my grandfather. They take off their hats one at a time to greet him. Their beards, expensive-looking canes, and glasses tell me they are very high up in the society. Grandfather bows to each one of them. Please come into the study. Alex, please excuse the mess. Come in, come in. Mio, serve tea for everyone. Yes, I wasn't nervous at all earlier, but now I think I'm the most nervous one. I'm not the one making the presentation, and I'm not the one being evaluated, so it's ridiculous that I'm feeling so nervous. I don't know if I should use that as my excuse, but I was so nervous that I knocked over the thermos I had filled to the brim with hot water and ruined the black eggs I had chosen specifically for this day. I apologize to my grandfather and started to boil water again. I just did enough for the guests. By the time I had cup of tea and cookies ready, grandfather's presentation was his key part. It pierces the blood or lymph vessels and spreads to the spinal cord, and from there it travels along the cerebrospinal fluid to the brain. I've confirmed many cases of encephalitis after autopsies. You know what? I'm just going to skip these big words that I'm going to just embarrass myself trying to pronounce. Blank is known to be caused by roundworm and predict its behavior to be extremely similar. Grandfather said between samples in formalin jars, according to several, as he gave his explanation. There are over 100 formalin jars here with parts of brains in them. They were all very dusty, so I spent a few days cleaning them. I'm rather proud to see the sparkling jars all lined up like this. However, roundworms induce an extremely wide range of symptoms. A headache, narcosis, derangement, none of those are characteristic symptoms of roundworms. On the other hand, symptoms of Higurashi syndrome are very specific to that disease. And saying one of them is the claw on one's own throat. Yes, exactly. Some soldiers witnessed it just before their fellows died. Such self-mutilation was never seen before in any disease. It only occurs in Higurashi syndrome. Also, since the symptoms are the only seen with terminal stage patients, I believe that means exodus, something we've seen before in several parasites. Parasites mature inside of an organism, reproduce, and leave the host and look for the next one. So what do you think about the fact that the cases were only seen in the soldiers from Higurashi, even though other soldiers touched their blood, which was being full of parasitic eggs or larvae? Don't you think there was a possibility of them getting infected? I suspect it's like an incubation period, but since it's limited to people from Higurashi region, I believe that such a unique local climate must play a role. I'll talk about that in the next part, but the ancient indigenous beliefs of the Higurashi have. It could be possible, Dr. Takano. I never heard of the parasites behaving socially. Yes, well, that's one of the revolutionary discoveries in the Higurashi syndrome. The elderly gentleman mumbled to each other while pointing at the data. With that, I finally realized things aren't going too well. Dr. Takano, I've been reviewing your data while listening to your gracious presentation. First of all, it is simply impossible for parasites to control human minds. Human thoughts are controlled by the brain, which is a work of art created by God. Furthermore, ideology is an extremely advanced aspect of the human thought. It's an advanced capability bestowed only to humans on this planet. Yet you would say parasites intervene in that? Please, that's absurd. I agree. Ideology that can also be considered a manner of thought that prioritizes the whole over the individual. In other words, the most important prerequisite condition for society. There's no way parasites will be gifted with that when their only demand is to pass on their genes. In the field of biology, there's never been once a discovery of sociality or eusociality within parasites. But there's a cases of parasites interfering with the host's behavior. You're misunderstanding one thing, Dr. Takano. The principle that drives parasites capable of controlling their host is always reproduction and propagation, and so only the primitive concept. Even in examples used before of a rat infected with the Toxoplasma gondii losing its aversion to cats, and the altered behavior simply means to let their host be eaten by a better host in order to change hosts. And that's just like the grasshopper infected with the horsehair worm drowning itself. Once a horsehair worm matures, it becomes aquatic. When that happens, it guides a grasshopper to the water and drowns it, then enters the environment it's adapted for. Exactly, the suicidal act of clawing out one's throat corresponds to that in the case of the Higurashi syndrome. For example, guinea worms escape the body by having the host scratch the affected area. Indeed, the purpose of all these parasites is reproduction. For them to infest the brain, God's masterpiece, and not affecting the brain itself isn't that strange, but to see that infest it and influence human ideology is frankly delusional. In fact, that's a dangerous idea. I don't think that's strange that Himisawa in isolated culture developed its own unique faith. There are actually many examples of that all over Japan. So are you saying all of them were due to parasites, or that they were all due to cultural reasons except ones in Himisawa, which one was caused by parasites? How do you establish the distinction? Well, as I said in my autopsy on the Himisawa soldiers who died in the war, there was sufficient evidence to believe. Excuse me, Dr. Takano, I don't think you've got enough case studies to call it clinical data. Furthermore, as you said, it was during the war. No, I mean, as I explained in the next part, Himisawa syndrome develops when one experiences suspicion, nervousness, and stress, and becomes emotionally unbalanced. I think it's a unique approach to suspect some manner of the commonality that there were several cases of unique and bizarre self-mutilation, such as clawing my throat out. Yep, that's all and one of the reasons it's unreliable. Maybe it was just a coincidence that such a rare case happens under abnormal circumstances like the war. I believe you witnessed the convergence of coincidences attributed in just the list view, deluded yourself into finding a pattern. To prove otherwise, you would need an enormous amount of clinical data on the Himisawa syndrome patients, but ethically that's impossible to prove. The natives' act of recognizing it as a curse suggests it's more within their realm of cultural-bound syndromes, and you think that's a delusional parasitic disease? I hate to say this, but I think you admire the beliefs of the Himisawa a little too much, and as a result, you yourself have taken in by their culture-bound reactive syndrome. Actually, that happens quite often with people who research more unusual fields of study. We're trying to be careful ourselves. The more they talk, the paler my grandfather's face becomes. I was just stunned myself. I never heard of parasites like that. That's impossible. It was just a coincidence that there was enough data. The talk goes on, and every time grandfather says something, they dismiss it like that. Before he knew it, my grandfather could only hold his silence before their criticisms. Well, no revolutionary discovery is accepted at first. Maybe this research of yours is one of those things. Even if it's ridiculed at first, it may achieve recognition in later years. It happens all the time. I'm just an amateur. I'm just a private researcher who didn't graduate from an elite college, nor do I belong to any academic clique. I don't have any connections to experts or research centers. That's why this is all I can do. Is it Himisawa syndrome real, or is it just my delusion, just like you all say it is? To find out, I need your help. Of course, if this was a discovery of the century, it would create a major uproar. After all, you're also just in the human culture and ideology. It's all the will of parasites, and our frontal lobe is a place for them to live. One audacious theory. If a link between the existence of this Himisawa syndrome and the disease carrier's belief in Oyoshi-Osamu could be established, then it would be impossible to explain all religions, no all cultural divisions on Earth. What a magnificent and unique idea, Dr. Takano. Instead of showing people like us your essays in secret, you should publish a book about it for the general public. Grandfather looked at the ground, his fist trembling a little, but their words were far too cruel. I don't know anything about academics. I'm just a little girl. I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but Grandfather worked so hard by himself until this day, but to prove his research and delve further into it, he needs sponsors. Yet those sponsors are casting him away, calling his research a delusion. That's outrageous, like asking which came first, the chicken or the egg. Besides, if his research was at that level those cheeky men want to see, he wouldn't need their help. But they're saying that they can't help him unless they see some results that are beyond the level of private research. In any field, doesn't research always start out with just a little idea? If you could prove its existence beforehand, then what's the point of researching it to begin with? If a wild idea can't be the subject of research, how do we gain any knowledge at all? But never mind that. When Mr. Koizumi came 2 weeks ago, didn't he say they were all really interested in his research? What's going on? Is this the complete opposite of what he said? Yes, I think this is very interesting research. The human brain still holds many secrets. Dr. Takano's idea is an extremely unique one. It seems impossible to ignore, especially from a eugenics perspective. Humans are not God's children. We're simply animals who underwent the baptism of evolution. As such, according to Darwin, there will be differences in that evolution based on environment. In other words, humans can be either superior or inferior. As a nation, we must think how we can maintain good bloodlines and how we can leave good genes behind. If we do not raise that as a national policy and research towards it, then by the next century, mankind may fall to the fatal position on the hierarchy. Dr. Takano's research has potential encompassing more than just parasitic diseases. If the evil inferior humans we shouldn't let breed can actually be explained by disease instead of genetics, then it becomes possible to correct their behavior through surgery. And as a result, we can leave wonderful people for our future. From the eugenic point of view, Dr. Takano's research should get started immediately. It's possible that this could be the greatest discovery since Mona's invention of the lobotomy. If casualties between infectious diseases and an individual's nature could be established, this would be more than Nobel Prize worthy. Koizumi Sensei, thank you for giving us this chance. Takano-kun is a single-minded and passionate man, but he is not good at dealing with people. He's been working on his research all by himself. But now he's hit the limit of what one person can do, and he needs help. Please, everyone, listen to what Takano-kun has to say. We don't even need to ask Sensei. We are the ones who should be thanking you for this opportunity. We're already willing to help. In fact, the more urgent matter will be arranging jurisdictions within the society. I'd like to thank you for giving me an opportunity to be involved in such a unique research project at this age. There was a knock on the door as the sliding door opened and the owner peeked in. Excuse me, there's someone asking for you. May I bring him? Someone, who could it be? The owner whispered in Koizumi's ear and his face turned pale all of a sudden. Please let him in, and I'll come greet him with you. As Koizumi stood out, 2 pairs of footsteps reached the door. This is Sensei. I didn't expect you to be here. Koizumi-san, long time no see. And something I need to tell you today. Yes, if you need to tell me something, I'm all ears. Please go ahead. The old man known as Koizumi was not someone whose status could be taken lightly. Although he had retired, he was still powerful enough to wield great influence as a fixer. So from his meek attitude, it was easy to figure out what kind of person this man must be. The old man held onto his bodyguard's shoulder as he walked. He had an expensive-looking cane in his other hand. He couldn't even walk on his own because of his old age, but his intense, commanding presence hadn't declined one bit. I'll get straight to the point. Your friend's research. You need to put a stop to that. Huh? What do you mean? Koizumi-kan, he must take his knowledge of it and he must always send him to his grave. Nobody should touch it. If anyone looks into it, well, if you poke a bush, a snake will come out. A big fat snake, too. It would pain me just to watch you get swallowed by it. That's why I'm here to give you some advice. Can your friends wait for a little bit? So how about it? Do you want to have some drinks with me in a different room? Yeah, I'll come with you straight away. Koizumi realized that he was being pressured. He didn't know which direction it was coming from, but clearly some authorities weren't comfortable with the research on the Hemazoa syndrome and was trying to stop it from supporting it. Alright guys, I'm going to take another few minute break here. Okay, I am back. Koizumi-kan, do you remember the Marco Polo Bridge incident? This is utter nonsense. We came here today to expect here more of an objective side. Normally we wouldn't come all the way here for something like this, but since Koizumi and Sensei didn't ask us, we didn't have a choice. This really was a waste of time, but in a way it was a good thing we came. We were able to give you some advice. You should take up bonsai instead of wasting the rest of your life on this. Bonsais are great. I agree, it's not healthy to just stare at 4 melon jars and study. It sure is a unique subject. If you want, I'll introduce you to the chief of a publishing company. The general public loves things like this, you know. They aren't even trying to hide their hostility. And I laugh at my grandfather denouncing him and saying things that didn't degrade not only his research but his personality as well. If they are simply trying to provoke him, any response would just be giving them what they want. Even at this very moment, grandfather tried to remain a noble researcher and a proud human being. He's no longer trembling. On the contrary, he apologized to them for taking up their time and told them he had no intention of keeping them any longer. We'll give this article back to you, though it'd be much easier if we could actually call it an article. One of the elderly gentlemen tossed it back to grandfather couldn't catch it in time. The article he worked so hard on fell on the floor and paper scattered all over the carpet. The elderly gentleman left the study without even apologize for it. Everyone else followed suit. As they left, they trod all over my grandfather's article. It looked like grandfather's expression didn't change, but I could see it warping. I could see the wall of the research grandfather board crunching and warping sadly. I jumped. I grabbed onto the elderly gentleman's leg. I don't hate him. If I were asked if I hated him or not, the answer would be yes, but it's not the point here. What I really can't stand is his foot stepping all over my grandfather's article. Don't step on it. Don't step on it. Grandfather worked so hard on it. Don't step on it. I just want to move the foot that's staying on his papers, but the foot doesn't move no matter how hard I push or pull, as if it's rooted to the floor. I felt someone grabbing me from behind. It was my grandfather. Please excuse my granddaughter. Don't worry about this. We'll clean it up. Don't step on them. I'm telling you not to step on my grandfather's article. My screams don't mean a thing to them. They completely ignored my screams. They continued to step on the papers and left the study. Only my grandfather and I remain there now. My grandfather is still grabbing the back of my collar. I don't have any left words. I don't have any words left to say, only cries. My grandfather is determined not to show any emotion. He doesn't even open his mouth, so I have to cry for him. Just then, my grandfather slapped me in the face. That startled me. I'm crying for him, so why did he slap me? Then I understand. Grandfather is the one who wants to cry, but he's enduring, so I shouldn't cry either. I wiped my tears and running nose, and I silently turned my eyes to the papers on the carpet, just like my grandfather. Sorry, meow. I don't understand why he's apologizing. I thought he was going to complain about their rudeness. If I had worked harder, this wouldn't have happened. Until today, you've helped me so much, and it was all for nothing. Sorry about that. How courageous he is. Even after that disaster, he's still concerned about me. I shook my head and put my hands on the floor. I tried to gather up the papers, but then they began to fall. My tears are overflowing again, blurring the ink on the papers. These are all handwritten by my grandfather. He was so happy that he finally learned the research. He was so happy he spent all night writing these. But they stepped on him. They might as well have stepped on my grandfather's very soul. I didn't work hard enough. If I'd done more, then this wouldn't have happened. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'll work even harder. I won't give up because of something like this. I don't know if he's saying that to me or himself. Don't worry, God is watching. I have to believe that I'll gain recognition. Nothing will come. That's why I have to keep working harder. Grandfather says this all the time, but I know the truth. God only plays people's face. He doesn't save them out of goodwill. That's why he let this happen to my grandfather, even though he's worked so hard and so humbly until today. That's why he let such a horrible thing happen to me when I was still an innocent little girl. Grandfather keeps repeating himself, but I know the truth. God exists. The existence of grandfather believes in is real, but there's no mercy to be found in God. He delivers unreasonable fates and makes us call it a challenge. I can't tell my grandfather that, of course. I asked God once more, like I did on the day of the thunderstorm. Why? Why can't you give my grandfather's effort and hard work the recognition he deserves? Grandfather told me that he'll gather up the paper, so I should put away the teacups. I nodded silently and put the teacups that hadn't even been touched onto the serving cart. As I pushed it out of the study, Grandfather told me to close the door after I leave. I always close the door when I leave. He doesn't need to remind me, but that's what he wants me. That's what he wants. So without saying anything, I closed the door. And as I walked away from the study, I heard my grandfather sobbing. Tears filled my eyes once more, sadness and disappointment. I almost felt angry with myself for not being able to do anything for him. Then I felt a cool breeze on my wet cheeks. The breeze was blowing in front of the cracked open window. The curtain was flapping gently in that breeze. I heard the cry of the Higurashi, and as I listened to them, I calmed down gradually. I could ease grandfather's pain by crying. I'll cry in his place. But that won't help me. On the contrary, he started to cry because I did. I'm being useless here. I remember that day. I remember the reason why I'm alive now. If he hadn't come and saved me, I would have spent the last days of my life lying in the corner of the bathroom seeing he even shaped a piece of meat. Grandfather saved me. He gave me back my rights. The right to walk, the right to stand up, the right to wear clothes, the right to eat, the right to speak, the right to think. In other words, the right to live as a human being. Grandfather took action right after he got the phone call from me. He found my house and he found out which orphanage I was sent to. After struggling through the sloppy filled records of the public office, then he saved me. Of course, he was working on his research then. He spent his precious research time on saving me, a perfect stranger. I vowed that if his heart failed, I'd rip out my heart and give it to him. Well, of course, his heart's fine, so he doesn't need a heart. He needs something else that's equally important. That's something only I can give him in this whole world. I clenched my fists and held them so tightly that my nails left marks. I now know that what I'm supposed to do with this new life as Mio Takano. I finally know. I know the reason why the new me was born. I know the purpose of Mio Takano. To fulfill a wish and weave a desired future. And the strength of a string is how strong your will is. A noble and strong wish will come true. I thought I knew my grandfather's greatness, but I actually didn't know the half of it. For me to be able to really help him, I have to reach his level. All my lessons led back to my grandfather. There was a single subject I could ignore. Right now, studying hard is what I can do for him. I've been a teacher for a long time, and I never seen such a hardworking student. You learn not only academically, but socially as well. You made a great deal of friends. I have a goal of which I can reach only by studying hard. Also, I know how powerless and isolated genius is. That's why I need to learn to socialize. That's enough. Not enough. I'm not even close to where I want to be. Entering college is only a step forward. What matters is what I learned there. I'm not even close. I'm not even close to being able to help my grandfather. I'm so proud of you. You can go to Tokyo or Okanozu University or any college of your choice. Nothing will stop you. The most important thing for you is the school will teach you what you want to learn. A big decision inhabits a tiny soul. If my life is heavier than the earth, then my decision is heavier than the earth. Do I have what I need to be able to truly understand the Hinabisawa syndrome and help grandfather in his research? I don't need compromises or excuses. The heights a seeker is lofty and preceptuous. No, this is not even close. My classmates are such idiots, acting as if they were winners in life just because they entered this school. A college is simply a place to learn what I need to know. If this self-proclaimed best school isn't worth my time, I'm not interested. I didn't expect a talented woman like you to end up at this parasite research center. I'm sure everyone wanted you, huh? I assume you were interested in something bigger. I went to study and research parasites. I worked hard to earn the right to study here. Aren't I qualified to learn? Yes, of course. There's no reason why we would refuse someone who got the top score in the entrance exam. Welcome to the Parasite Research Center. People usually aren't that interested in our field. There aren't too many researchers who study it. That's why there's a lot of unknown elements compared to the other fields. That's quite true. The study of parasites is a mysterious world, or rather it's an ignorant one. An ignorant world where the preconception that parasites can't possibly control human pervades. And those ignorant people laughed at grandfather and slipped all over his article. There are still many unsolved mysteries in the world of parasites. I'm here to solve them. I came here to help the people who want to solve them. A wish that's guaranteed to come true. It's not a call to wish. That is fate, not a wish. I weave fate. Fate is an absolute power to control people in the world, not just an individual. Learning isn't enough for me. I have to be able to research with my grandfather, and so I don't ignore the means to gain the help my grandfather couldn't get. Grandfather's research isn't complete just when it's finished being written on a desk. I need the help of plenty of people to present it to the world, so his great work will be praised by many. Yes, that's correct. This is an association only the top graduates of the imperial universities are allowed to join. Therefore, as only 7 people per year are allowed to join, it's a small group compared to the normal organization of alumni. However, its solidarity is unrivaled. Thank you for inviting me for such a gathering. I'm honored. I would like to take the lowest seat. Oh no, we can't let someone with such accomplishments and experience to sit in the lowest seat. I'm sure everyone will welcome you. The cabinet minister and several important government officials, company presidents, and company advisors will be here. They'll all need you, and they'll provide the help you need. Koizumi Sensei belongs to the association, right? He was my grandfather's best friend. What a coincidence. I see. I'm sure Koizumi Sensei will be glad to find out that you'll be joining. An isolated genius is a useless one. People live in society. Society is made of connections between people. Nobody can ignore that. I do my best as an individual, but to gain the power that can't be achieved as a mere individual, I have to rely on my connections in society. It's all for one purpose. My only wish is Mio Takano. Yes, I can't spare any effort. My absolute conviction will forge a guaranteed future. Nobody can interfere. Nobody can stop me. I want all to die roll of one. I won't admit that diligent efforts be erased by a mere train accident. I'm going to make all the dice roll 6. I won't entrust the die to God. I won't give in to luck. The only people who pray to God are people who don't want to work hard. I don't trust God. I'm going to create results myself. My strong will is going to create an absolute future that God can't possibly prevent. This is a different way to become a God than the one my grandfather taught me. This is a way to become a God while still alive. When I realized that, I became truly free. Free from the sadness of losing my parents and miserable life after that. Free from grandfather's tears when this article was stepped on. And that's right, I'll be above God. I'll be in an existence that God prices can't even touch. I'll make people recognize grandfather's research. That's the future I wish for. The future I promised will come to pass. People will fight over grandfather's articles. People will respectfully read the same article that was once ridiculed and stepped on. Even if grandfather dies before that day comes, I won't cry over something like that, because he already taught me, even after being buried, one can be resurrected. I'm going to complete his great work, and the whole world will praise him. Grandfather will resurrect and become a god and will be eternal. And that's an everlasting bond, a bond not even a train accident can break, a bond that not even a die that rolls at one can disturb. Since the day of the train accident, my die has kept rolling once over and over. But I didn't give up. I kept working hard until today. I'll rise above the die. I'll decide what to roll on them. I'll decide my own fate. I'll do that with my unshakable willpower. Just like that, I'm going to take another quick break. Alright, that was a nice break. When is the clinic open? Is there going to be air conditioning? I heard it'll be open next month. I hope there'll be a young doctor there. Yeah. Or some other ladies talking amongst themselves when I was going up the stairs to the shrine. The area clinic is already completed and it's waiting and ready for an opening day. Okay, there we go. The state-of-the-art equipment has been delivered and the research is waiting to begin as well. Ari is due standing by in top form and he's almost as special as I am with the Higurashi syndrome. Mountain dogs and the counterintelligence units that support and protect our research are already stationed at a dummy company somewhere near Okonomiya. They are getting in touch with the various public institutions. Everything is going well. The only thing to worry about would be the rumors about the Higurashi dam construction plans. There's a rumor that the Ministry of Construction is pushing to a dam project that will submerge all of Higurashi, but they're under pressure from several groups. In other contexts, none of my contacts have been much influence in the Ministry of Construction, so things aren't going well. And if applying pressure doesn't work, there are other measures, so either I'll come to a deadlock. I'm not being optimistic, I just know that's how it is, and I will conduct research here in Higurashi. I'm going to accomplish that with my absolute will. That's why even God's roller won on the die and says that he's going to submerge Higurashi. I will not be afraid. I won't trust my die to God. I'm the one who's going to pick up the die and I'm going to roll a 6. I didn't come to this shrine to declare war on the god of this shrine. I came because I know that you can get a great view from up here. I walked by the shrine and head to the spot I found last time I visited. It's a perfect spot for overlooking the entire village. The strong wind reminds me that I'm the only at the starting line and that there will be a headwind before I reach my goal. I looked over at the village without faltering in the wind. My grandfather approached the syndrome from a medical point of view, but he also approached it from a folkloric one as well. The strange belief that system in this village is proof that the existence of Higurashi syndrome was already known of even in ancient times, so it'll be extremely useful to research their history too. My grandfather had been doing research for hundreds of years, of course, but this place has been here for hundreds of years and had been living in Higurashi syndrome for that long. Therefore, the beliefs created in place in legend itself can be considered the foremost research. It's simply stupid just to call them old folk tales or nonsense. I've been researching them slowly, but they are indeed very dangerous. No wonder my grandfather was intrigued by them. Higurashi syndrome has many fascinating sides to it. It's just like a kaleidoscope showing infinite light with ever a slight change in angle. It's so much fun to trace grandfather's research. Finding the same results as my grandfather reminds me that I am indeed following in his footsteps, which makes me very happy. The shrine is dedicated to the Oyoshiro-sama, the guardian deity of the village. But this god the villagers worship is simply a delusion that was created by the parasites. When I solve their secret and announce it to the world, the god of this place will be no more. That's the moment I'll take revenge on the one who put me through misery and tested my fate. That's it, isn't it? It's just about making my father's dream come true. It's also about getting revenge for my miserable life. I went back to the front of the shrine. There's an offertory box there, and I'm tempted to throw in some coins. But you normally offer coins to ask for mercy. I don't entrust my faith to God, so I don't need to give an offering. I'm going to unmask him, but until then, Oyoshiro-sama is a god. Okay, in that case, I'll show her my respect right now. As a declaration of war, I pulled a 10-yen coin from my wallet. The 10-yen coin I found in the telephone booth changed my life. If I hadn't been there, my life would have ended then. I'm grateful at least for that 10-yen coin. I'm not grateful to the god of the shrine now. But I haven't forgiven you yet. I never expected anything from you, and I'm here because of my own hard work. Even if you keep playing tricks of fate, or keep rolling in one on the die, that won't bother me. With my strong will, I'm going to get what I want. My grandfather will be praised and become a god of the research. I'll do that in this place. I'll defeat the god of this village and become an existence above even gods. Since when did I care about that god? Maybe because my grandfather often talked about him. Yeah, this is a thing in coin you gave me before. My debt's paid off now. You just keep clinging to your throne and tormenting people with your trials while I fight my battles and knock you down from there. And so I chucked the thing in I once borrowed from God into the offertory box. Yeah, for a moment I couldn't understand what happened. The thing in coin was supposed to fall into the offering box, but how can I explain this? That's not what happened. I am correctly for certain. Who could miss an offertory box anyway? That's not it. Because the titanium coin stopped in mid-air, as if it got stuck in the spider web. It then bounced back to me and fell by my feet. It was as though the offertory box had refused the coin. Of course, an offertory box is to respect God, but what I did was to challenge him. And that means this is a jump because I thought I was the only one here. Anyone who would jump funny, anyone would jump when there's funny. Guys, I apologize. I suck at reading. I jumped because I thought I was the only one here. Anyone would jump when funny, and there's someone else standing there unexpectedly. How long has she been there? It's like she came out of this from the shrine. A mysterious girl is standing on the other side of the offering box. She's wearing a shrine-maiden uniform, so she must be one of the caretakers here. That's what I thought too, but then there's something else about her. She's not just one of the shrine caretakers, she's the shrine itself. Because the girl's staring into my eyes, so she's glaring. I smiled back fearlessly when she heard my words of challenge to God. She's wearing an expression on her face because of that. The words came out naturally. You are the god of this place, aren't you? The girl didn't nod, but I took that as a yes. What a contradictory feeling. I'm rejecting the god of this land, denying its very existence. Yeah, I don't doubt this girl is that god. The girl opened her mouth to speak. A strong will reinforced the state. That's right. That's why I said to myself often. I've never said that to anyone or quoted it from anything. So under normal circumstances, I should be surprised to hear this girl say that. But this girl is a human, so I'm not surprised. I replied to her, God throws a die of fate and has fun with people, depending on what he gets. People have willpower. The stronger the willpower, the less chance of being bound by the result of the die. You see, people gain a power that's strong enough to fight fate by working to their limits. Yes, I understand that very well. An unshakable conviction defeats the die of fate. That's right, this is mankind's revenge against the gods who toys with them my dice roll. The hymn of those who would slow the gods' interference and force their own destiny. Know my divinity, and that I earned this day through effort after enduring all misfortune. Spiteful laughter flowed out of my mouth, but the girl's face displayed a strange will of her own. Her expression didn't even change a bit. I understand very well, no matter how many times we repeat, our fate doesn't change. That's what all because of your strong willpower. That's right, a strong will reinforces fate. That fate so empowered is bothered by the result of a die. That means it's an absolute future. You, a human, found that truth before us gods who would have been living for hundreds of years. I admit it, your existence is close to that of a god. I'm honored. The girl glared at me with her half-shut eyes. No, it was more like she was proclaiming something to me while displaying her own strong willpower. I won't be defeated this time. We always thought we could win against you. That's why I surrendered. I abandoned hope and crawled around in the wheel of life. But then I learned the power I believe can cause a miracle that forges your destiny. When I say that you'll cause a miracle using your own strong will that will defeat the destiny woven by mine, that's logical enough. Because that's the law of this world. A strong will can make a desired future possible. We won't be defeated by your will. That's fine, so you insist on being an old god. Try and see if your willpower can defeat mine. God tests people, yet people aren't allowed to test God. So I'm going to test you here, see if your willpower can defeat mine. Come on, go ahead and try it. That's clearly a declaration of war from me to God. This is the beginning of my revenge towards God who put me through so much misery. And this God has accepted my challenge directly. I'm not as powerful as you are. I can do as many things as you can. And if my willpower is as strong as yours, you're still more powerful than I am. That's right, I'm gaining overwhelming power. You have absolutely no idea what I had to go through to gain it. You can't even touch me. I know how powerful you are. Compared to yours, the power of my friends and I command is insignificant. But I can choose not to give up. I won't admit my loss. I won't give up until the day when your die rolls 1 and my die rolls 6. I'll prove the strength of my willpower by not surrendering to you for eternity. Stacking up stones on a riverbed will allow us to cross the river, appear before you as an equal. And that's when this long battle of fate will come to an end. Yeah, fine, come on then. We'll see who has a stronger will. Whoever has a stronger conviction will create the future. The future decided by the stronger conviction will come to pass. I will hold my ground. I am my future. My grandfather's great work is praised, and he becomes a god, and I'll take revenge on the god for testing me by making me go through such a misery. Yeah, stupid little god, I'll show you. I'll drag you down from the pedestal. Okay. Um. So is that like the like is it like the end, or is it like just we like finish with like the introduction to this part? There's really no way I put in enough time to finish it. I think we just start. I guess that's just why did it take so long though to introduce itself? I mean, we already knew the name of the game and whatnot, but still no tips at all. That's very unusual. I wonder if there's even any tips in this version, in this chapter. I mean, it's using pretty much the same engine, so maybe if there's no tips, maybe they just didn't take it out. I don't know. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys next time.